Good afternoon, evening, good night, good morning. Again, we are back with that intro once more. That may or may not become the official intro. We'll wait and see in due course. I am your host, Purple Midnight 8, joined once more, as ever, by Amelia. Say hi, Amelia.
Hi, Amelia.
I knew you were going to do that. I am very excited today to be bringing you my favourite ever film of all time. So,
Too excited earlier.
well, I'm excited to finally be reviewing it for the channel. We are recording two reviews in one day. This morning, let's be honest, this afternoon when we woke up, no, I'm kidding. We did go out and we got snackies, as we like to call it, and we went to a cafe where I had a very disappointing experience involving waiting a long time for a fucking panini to be done. I will not get over that. Leave me alone. So, of course,
Thanks, Rose.
thanks, company that has a shop and a cafe,
Why are you not just naming them?
because we may possibly. Well, I doubt we'll get sponsored by them, but it doesn't matter. I'm not mentioning them by name. They don't deserve it, even though she screamed it out. I will not repeat it, Roy's. Anyway, I'm here with my favorite. We are here doing my favorite film of all time, without a doubt. So nothing will ever top this on our letterbox list. It did not pick up you saying go get coffee.
Go get coffee.
Yeah, sit down, have your dinner or something. We're going to be here for the long haul. This film, of course, we knew was going to be a bit longer because usually the films we do are an hour and a half, whereas Jurassic Park clocks in at just over 2 hours. So I knew we were going to do a little bit. However, we did get realistically 3.5 pages. Usually we end up about 3. However, recently we've been barely hitting 2 because we haven't really been doing good films that we like. But of course, as I say, this is my favourite film of all time, so of course I knew from the beginning that we would be doing a long one. However, I could be completely wrong. We could finish up and this would still be half an hour long. Oh, you're doing... Sorry, she's doing a colouring thing we both do. She's doing one that I did the other day. This one is going to be in a lot more detail because, if you didn't know, this film is based off of a novel by Michael Crichton. I have read the book recently, so there's going to be a lot of comparisons being made. Lots of characters die who don't, lots of characters don't die who do, etc. I will point them out where I can remember. There are characters in this that aren't in this that are in the comics. I keep thinking comics. In the book, in the novel. There's one guy who basically takes over like Alan's role as the guardian of like Lex and Timmy. He gets killed by Baby T-Rex, which does not appear in this film, but does appear in the second one. I'm a big nerd of this film. I've literally got a Jurassic Park t-shirt on right now. I got a tattoo of a Velociraptor. So this film is big to me, and Amelia enjoyed it. Which I was surprised by because she's never seen it before, surprisingly. So a lot of the time she's going, "Does he die? Is he dead? Does he die?" And because this film turned 30 years old this year, we just missed out on the anniversary, which is like the end of last month, because I forgot. Also, we didn't have it on DVD at the time, I don't think, and we do now. We have the first 3 films, which we will cover in due time. Next week, for my review, I will be doing Scary Movie 4. That is a promise. That series needs to... Well, not that series needs to be done. Scary Movie 5 is somewhere, but we do not own 5. We will see if we can rent it or if it's on, like, Prime or something. However, do not expect it soon until, like, we're paying next to no money for it. Because I don't care enough to pay, like, 20 quid. It's on Amazon Prime or Apple TV, so it won't be too hard, I suppose. So, we'll see. In due time, we will get to it. But this week we are looking at Jurassic Park. the first of 6 films, I want to say. Uh, with the addition of the little Netflix series Camp Cretaceous for the Jurassic World. As you kept calling this Jurassic World, which kept fucking me off. The Chris Pratt. Um, yeah, we'll cover the soundtrack at the end because the score in this film is iconic. This film, of course, directed by Steven Spielberg. Everyone knows who he is. You don't need me to explain. Let me just get my cast list up because I'm stuck with Scary Movie 5. A lot of this cast is basically known for this film, or at least similar.
The what is it when he goes on about his snakes?
Snakes? What fucking snakes are you on about?
Okay.
Oh, with Sam Jackson. Yeah, Samuel Jackson in one of his earliest roles is in this film. And Amelia didn't recognise her until I did the line from Snakes on a Plane. I would love to do Snakes on a Plane. That's such a campy film. Of course, this film, as mentioned, is based on the 1990 novel by Michael Crichton. Steven Spielberg bought the rights to this film before the book even came out. Yeah. Well, you buy like the copyright or whatever to it, the film rights, so that then you part own that, like, I don't know what you want to call it, not a company or license or whatever. You own.
No, but if the book isn't out, then how would they know how to get a license?
Well, because there's the pitch for like books and stuff, and like early, I don't know what you want to call it, early forms of the book, I guess, that sort of thing. I guess maybe Steven Spielberg heard about what the film was going to be like, and it was just like, yeah, I want to make that film straight away. So before his novel, before it was published, so it might have been that they saw some early the drafts of it. 4 studios put in bids for its film rights. However, with the backing of Universal, Spielberg acquired it for $1.5 million before its publication. Crichton, as I will now mention, was given an extra $500,000 to adapt the novel for the screen. He serves as one of the writers of the screenplay alongside a gentleman named David Cope. He is a person. I don't know who he is, to be honest. Forgive me. He might have written some other stuff. He has written the second one of these, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Mission Impossible, Jack Ryan, Spider-Man. Quite a lot. Fucking hell, I didn't realise he's done this much. But in that case, he may come up a lot more on this channel than I think. So yeah, of course. So it's a big film, big names behind it. We'll get straight into the breakdown. As I say, we'll get yourself comfy. This is going to be a long one. Get ready for me to be making a lot of comparisons. Spoilers ahead, of course, for this 30-year-old film and a 33-year-old fucking novel. Definitely recommend reading the book, even if you've seen the film, just because of how the contrast between the two, especially the opening. The opening for the film is completely different to the book. The book is a lot more dark and gruesome. So our cold open is set at night time. A large group of workers for Jurassic Park, including Robert Muldoon, who is played by Bob Peck, the late great Bob Peck. As you said before we started watching, you were like, this is an old film, so most of the cast are going to be dead, in your classic way of wording things. Bob Peck, of course, has passed away. I mainly know him for this. Despite the fact he's doing an Australian accent, he is English. So I don't really understand why he did that. He died 6 years after this came out. Fucking hell. He's in quite a lot. He was in The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones. I didn't even know they did like prequels. That must have been one of his last films because that came out in '99. Apparently, he was The Lost World Jurassic Park as well. I doubt he was in it, considering spoilers again. He died in this film. Unless he was like a producer or something like that, maybe. They're awaiting a delivery of an animal in a cage. The animal, which of course clearly not your regular zoo exhibit, proves too rowdy for them when it rams the cage, with a worker named Joffrey on top. It knocks him off and into the gap between the enclosure and the cage and grabs hold of him. Me and you couldn't stop making comparisons to the Lego game because we've done that for this channel. In the game, his hot dog is grabbed by the raptor, of course, because it's a dinosaur instead of like a big cat. But in this, of course, he is grabbed by the legs. Muldoon manages to grab him, ordering his men to shoot them. Of course, the classic shoot her! But unfortunately, he slips from Muldoon's grip and dies off screen. This is confirmed in some dialogue later on when I think his family sued Hammond. Donald Gennaro, played by Martin Ferrero. This character survives the books. However, between the first book and the second book, he dies of dysentery. Which, imagine surviving fucking dinosaurs and then shitting yourself to death. For a lack of better terms. So, he's the lawyer for a man named Mr. Hammond, who we will meet later on. Of course, because it's fucking Richard Attenborough. How can we not mention him? So he's his lawyer, and he is inspecting an amber mine that belongs to Hammond. The foreman shows Donald amber that contains a mosquito. The mosquitoes, as they will explain later on, contains blood that was sucked out of dinosaurs way back when. However many fucking years ago it was. At dig site in rural Montana, Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern. She's also famous for the Star Wars sequels. And that's basically what I would know her for. And obviously Dominion. Is it Dominion? Yeah, the one that came out last year of Jurassic World. She's also in the third one, briefly, of this, which we'll get into. And Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill. He, of course, is this, and he also did... Is it Event Horizon? He's in Peaky Blinders as well, apparently. The 12. He's in the third Lost World. He's in the first film. The third film, even. Jurassic Park 3. Which he did not enjoy himself doing. I'm not speaking English very well tonight. I apologise. I'm all over the place at the minute. He is, as you were surprised to know, he is a New Zealand actor, rocking a pretty almost flawless American accent. The two of them are excavating dino fossils. They are archaeologists, I believe is the correct term. I always forget which one it is. When a boy makes fun of Alan's finding of a raptor skeleton, he intimidates him using a raptor claw to show him how a raptor would kill him. There's nothing like traumatizing a young boy with how he would die. When Ellie and Alan walk away, a helicopter flies over, covering several unearthed skeletons back in sand. The pilot directs Alan to a trailer where he meets John Hammond, played by the late Richard Hammond. Not Richard Hammond from Top Gear. Richard Attenborough. Obviously the brother of David Attenborough, who is somehow still alive. Richard Attenborough is known for this, of course, the second film, and The Great Escape. Fucking hell. Sorry, I've just got to go back to my cast, because for some reason it opens about 8 different menus. Ellie storms in and Hammond explains the idea behind Jurassic Park and how he needs their approval for legal reasons. Hammond formally invites them and offers to fund the dig for 3 years in exchange for giving his park a go-ahead, which they agree to. Elsewhere, Lewis Dodgson, I have to mention him because he's an important character for this film, kind of, and Dominion later on. Gets an actor change in Dominion, however, in this one he is played by Cameron Ford. I believe I think he had some allegations against him, and they dropped him for someone else in the later film. I may be wrong, so forgive me for that. Oh! Oh, they are not allegations. He was convicted. All right, never mind. That's unfortunate. Anyway, anyway, he meets with Dennis Nedry, played by Wayne Knight. He is famous for Seinfeld. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Yep, Seinfeld, Toy Story 2. He played the owner of Al's Toy Barn. The fat guy with the red polo shirt dresses up in the chicken costume. Yeah. He was in one of the Punisher movies, Tarzan, Space Jam. Of course he was in fucking Space Jam, I remember. He's a big sort of character actor, everyone. He's got a very recognisable face. He's 68. Oh my, everyone's getting old. Dennis mocks him for his discretion because Lewis Dodgson likes to think he's a big hotshot, but he just takes the piss out of him a bit. Dennis is being paid by Dodgson to steal dinosaur embryos from Jurassic Park using a little shaving foam or cream can that contains a little secret bit, which apparently, as we found out when I've read it up, he Cameron 4 was told by Steven Spielberg to buy a shaving cream can. As a result, because he was so broke at the time, he took it after filming and used it. So on a helicopter ride, we get to meet with Gennaro and also Ian Malcolm, of course, played by Jeff Goldblum. Take your pick. Everyone knows who Jeff Goldblum is. Who is a believer in chaos theory, which of course is a big theme for this film. Turbulence hits and Alan puts on a seatbelt which has two female ends, so they wouldn't connect to each other, which is a big clue for part of the film, but he manages to tie them together. Life finds a way. Because as we find out, the dinosaurs are bred to be female only, but because they have certain frog DNA, they manage to switch sexes spontaneously, in order to be able to breed, which is unfortunate. The group all gets in jeeps together and stop in an opening where the group witnessed their first real dinosaur, a Brachiosaurus. As I hated to tell you, dies later on in the series in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom because they confirmed it to be a dick, which is really depressing. They look over the hill and awe several more dinosaurs in a lake, and Hammond invites them to see how he did it. They all go into the park's visitor centre and into a mini cinema, where a presentation hosted by another Hammond alongside Mr. DNA, who has forever changed the way I pronounce dinosaurs as dinosaurs. He's played by Greg Burson, who does a spectacular sort of voiceover for him. They all explain how dinosaurs were cloned from the mosquitoes, as mentioned earlier, using the blood that was preserved using the tree sap. They used DNA of a frog to fill in the gaps in the DNA strands, as I mentioned. They all leave the cinema and enter the labs, where they get to meet Henry Wu. Quick little throwaway character here, but later comes back as a big bad for the later sequels. He is played by B.D. Wong, who is my first character I get to mention about the differences between the novel and the movie. That's the word. I forgot to explain what the difference is between the openings, because I forgot. We got past it too quick. In reality, well, in the novel, basically, a worker comes in for Jurassic Park that has been mauled by a velociraptor. But the Men in Black, per se, tells the doctor that he had an accident with like a combine harvester. And then what happens is the character from the intro that I don't think is in the rest of the book goes back inside the little field hospital, and some compies are eating the babies. Ew, indeed. So yes, that's fun. So disgusting, really dark and morbid. Did not expect that when I was reading it. So back to Henry Wu. Henry Wu does not survive the book. He is a bit more villainous, more akin to his later adaptations. He gets ambushed outside the visitor's center by velociraptors and is eaten alive. It is fucking gruesome, and they really turned it down for this film. So yeah, they meet Henry Wu, where they all witness the birth of a baby velociraptor from an egg. And Wu explains to them that the dinosaurs are all female by engineering. You now can't unsee them wiping the baby velociraptor down with a baby wipe, essentially. As you kept mentioning after.
It was cute.
It is cute. And done practically. There are so many practical effects in this film, it's insane. As we've mentioned before, I fucking prefer practical effects over CGI any day because it just seems more real, especially when you've got actors interacting with it. Sometimes it's a bit iffy, especially if it's something small and they have to hold it in their hands, which is just awkward. So the group later goes to the raptor pen for feeding time, where they witness them lower a live cow into the raptor cage. You did not like this scene at all. Alan speaks to Muldoon about the raptors learning about their intelligence. They are clever bastards. Of course, we don't need to tell you that the cow is fucking dead. Like they lift what's left of the like harness it was in back out, and it's like torn to shreds. No bones or anything. Ironically, straight away after that, they all go for dinner in the boardroom, with Gennaro only thinking about the money he and the people he is representing, which is Hammond's investors, could make. Ian, of course, is against the whole idea of whether or not they should be playing God. The whole speech of they were more concerned about whether or not they could, instead of whether or not they should, which is fair. Because he later goes on to say about, like, if nature wanted them to be wiped out, we should have just left them to it. Returning to the lobby, there they are met by Lex and Timmy, which is Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello. Ariana Richards, I think, is mainly known for this. Tremors 3. Tremors 1. I didn't even know she was in that. She must have been very young. Well, she was young in this, but still. Joseph Mazzello didn't do too much after this. But it's important to mention he did go on to play I can't remember his name. John Deacon in Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen biopic. He's 39 now, Jesus. So they all go on tour in driverless SUVs. Timmy speaks with Alan, who has already read his book, and refuses to leave him alone until Alan shuts him into a different car. Alan is very against children in this film. He does not like them, and that is not good for his girlfriend at the time, Ellie, who is, may I add, 20 years younger than him, which is a bit yikes. Muldoon informs Hammond of an incoming storm with Ray Arnold. He is played, of course, by Sam Jackson. Once again, with most of the cast, I do not have to explain who Samuel fucking Jackson is. Like, come on, everyone has heard of him, except for you, until I said Snakes on the Plane, which is not the film I was expecting you to recognise him from. So yeah, they meet. So he tells Ray Arnold and Hammond about a storm, but they press on with the tour anyway. On the tour, the group are disappointed when the dinosaurs pull a no-show, and Hammond insults Dennis for him being a slob and lounging around. But Muldoon interrupts their bickering as the group approach the T-Rex paddock. The group watches as Arnold raises a cage remotely that contains a goat, which once again you did not like. A real goat and a real cow were used in these scenes, but obviously I don't think they killed them in real life. I should hope not. Scaring Lex, who's a vegetarian, and Timmy is fucking excited by it. However, the T-Rex is a no-show. Malcolm attempts to explain the theory of chaos and the butterfly effect to Ellie, who is just completely confused by it. They do, however, pass a sick Triceratops, which causes Alan and Ellie to leave Malcolm in the car. As the control control room group rush to see what's going on, Dennis starts to put his plans into place. The group make their way down with Alan and Elliot investigating, with Alan weirdly hugging it as it lays down sick. He literally lays on its side as it breathes, which is great for a dinosaur that's basically been poisoned. Ellie realizes the Triceratops is ill from consuming flowers from a plant. She does this by going through what Malcolm calls a great big pile of shit, aka the Jurassic World sequels. As the storm begins to arrive, Ellie insists on staying with the Triceratops as the others leave in the SUVs. Dennis's contact tells him that he must make a move as the storm has pushed things ahead of plan. Dennis makes a panicked exit, making very poor excuses as he does for him to access the labs. However, he must switch off the power to the park to disable security and allow him to steal the embryos. This in turn, of course, shuts off the power to the group's SUVs, stranding them. Nedry escapes into the storm as Hammond's team discovers he has shut down the gates along a specific route to escape. Storm, however, causes him to hit a sign, which makes him take the wrong route as Hammond and co realise he has sabotaged them. Alan and his group are unfortunately left stranded outside the T-Rex enclosure, which honestly I would not want to be there. I'd want to be where the Brachiosauruses are. However, there is some issues with potholes here, which we will get into in a second. Where Timmy haven't found some night vision goggles. He uses them to look out the car as large thuds can be heard. He sees water ripple in a glass, meaning they're about to have a certain visitor. As I said to you, this effect is really cool how they executed it. They had the glass of water on the table, and someone sat underneath and strummed a guitar, causing the vibrations, which is just really cool because they could have just CGI'd that water, but they went the extra mile. Timmy looks back out and notices that the goat is missing. Gee, I wonder where he went. Or she, they, whatever. I don't know what the fucking goat identifies as. Lex, of course, goes, "Where's the goat?" And a severed leg lands on top of the car as Rexy makes her grand appearance, swallowing the rest of the fucking goat whole. Gennaro does a runner to the nearby toilets, leaving the kids behind. Rexy begins to Rexy, which is her official name, by the way. I'm not calling her that to you. That is her official name, according to the creators. That is what she will be known as. She returns for Jurassic World. The same, they just bring her back. No, that's the big fucking T-Rex. Is that the nice one? Yeah. So Rexy begins to break the fences and emerges from the enclosure as Lex finds flares and a flashlight, which she proceeds to turn on, drawing Rexy's attention. Rexy, of course, immediately attacks the SUV, pushing the sunroof in and tipping the whole car over, trapping the kids inside. Alan also finds that sort of emergency kit, which he and Malcolm use to distract Rexy, luring it away so they can save Lex and Timmy. However, Rexy manages to plow into Gennaro's hiding place, knocking out Malcolm and concealing his body, leaving poor old Gennaro sat on the toilet in the open, which, of course, we've all seen it. He is snatched up by the T-Rex and eaten. Lovely. Alan frees Lex as Rexy returns, knocking the car over the side of the enclosure as Alan and Lex use a rope to climb down. Now this is the big plot hole. They go over the same gap in the fence that Rexy came out of, and there's a fucking several story drop that Rexy would not have been able to climb out of. Unless she was fucking giant. Like literally like colossal size, because that is a big drop. So it doesn't make sense how she's able to climb out of there, considering unless she can climb ropes with her stubby little arms, I don't think she can get out of there. So Hammond orders Muldoon to take a jeep with Ellie in order to rescue the group. Dennis, realizing he's lost, accidentally crashes his jeep and is forced to use a tow cable to free it. He slips down his hill and pulls a Velma, losing his glasses. He still perseveres in tying the cable to a tree before a certain little dinosaur circles him. Dennis notices it, making him panic and speed up. However, he turns to it, treating it like a dog. This, of course, is the Dilophosaurus, the ones that, unfortunately for Nedry, spits venom. He treats it like a dog until, as I said, it spits acid venom into his eyes, blinding him. He attempts to get back in, banging his head and dropping the embryo canister. And then he gets back into the car, but is ambushed and killed. So yeah. I just want to explain there is a Telltale game of Jurassic Park, which is sort of a sequel to this, which I believe may or may not be canon, because as we find out in Dominion, he did get hold of these embryos in the end, somehow. Or he did it in a separate way, I can't remember. But the embryo does eventually, like the canister does eventually get found. I just want to take a moment to talk about the differences between Nedry's death in the book and the film. He dies to the same dinosaur, however, most of his death in this film is off screen. However, brutally in the comics, in the fucking comics, I've done it again. In the book, I'm not used to saying books, I'm so used to comics being like what things are adapted from, because obviously we've seen all of The Walking Dead. He is disemboweled after being shot with a venom, but can't feel it due to some sort of numbing effect the venom has. However, he does reach down and holds his own guts in his hand. That is fucked. It's fucked. It's beyond really beyond belief. It's ridiculous. But that's not it for him. Has the Dilophosaurus, which is a lot bigger in reality than it is in this film. It is tiny. It is about the size of a small dog. It does pick him up by his head, and you literally stay with him until he dies, because I think it says the only thing he can hope for is a quick death, and then it moves on to the next chapter. He gets picked up by the head. Oh, it is fucking grim. The book is so much gorier. That's why, if they ever remake this, they need to make it rated R, make it fully, loyal to the book. And I would fucking love it if they did it properly. So in the meantime, Alan and Lex make it down and call out Timmy to Timmy in the SUV, which is now stuck up a tree. He promises Lex he won't leave her before making his way up. He makes it to Timmy, and when he tries to get him out, the car begins to move around. Tim makes it out of the car, but unfortunately the car comes loose as they make their way down. They descend until as fast as they can until they reach the bottom where the car lands on top of them, but they survive because they position themselves underneath the sunroof that got T-Rexed. T-Rex as in the dinosaur, not the band. Oh, I've pressed the fucking buttons again, haven't I? There you go. The T-shirt happened again. I pressed page up. I pressed page up this time. I didn't press page down. Ellie and Muldoon arrive at the other SUV, finding an alive but badly wounded Malcolm, and, as they point out, a few scraps of what's left of Gennaro's corpse. As mentioned, Gennaro does survive the book, not the film. They carry Malcolm into their Jeep, and before they can search for Alan and the kids who have escaped the wreck, Malcolm notices Rexy beginning to come back by hearing the thuds and seeing the water rippling in one of her footprints. Ellie and Muldoon just make it back as Rexy emerges from the tree line to pursue them until they manage to outrun her. Alan and the kids hear Rexy in the distance and decide to climb up a tree to get away from her. They love the trees in this film, I've just realised. There they see and hear some Brachiosaurus prompting Alan to make noises to communicate them. Alan and the kids huddle up together for the night as Hammond eats alone in the visitor's centre. Ellie sits with him and he explains his ideas and his dream for what Jurassic Park could have been if, he didn't have a piece of shit staff member. I must also take a moment to mention it, as I do apologise. I did warn you at the beginning that this was going to be a lot of me comparing the book. As we read up, Nedry was a bit more of a compassionate character in the book. He still sold everyone out for his own personal gain, but he was having financial issues, and Hammond, who survives the film, dies in the book. He gets eaten by compies after he slips, trying to get away to the evacuation boat, I think it is in that. He gets eaten by the little dinosaurs, which you will see that in the next film. Them little, you won't see people. You will see one guy get eaten by them. However, not in like full gore. But Hammond fucking dies, and that really shocked me. So Ellie calls him delusional for believing it could have worked, and that they all need to concentrate on getting everyone to safety. In the morning, Alan and the kids are startled when a Brachiosaurus grazes on the tree they are in. They try and pet it until it sneezes on Lex, who was initially terrified, and it leaves. The three of them make their way through the woods, with Alan finding some eggs, implying that they are breeding despite being all female. And Alan explains that some frogs can, as I mentioned earlier, spontaneously switch sexes if they need to in order to breed, which is fucking weird. Hammond explains to the others that they can switch the power on and off to reset what Dennis did. He orders Ray to shut the system down and reset it, which he does, succeeding in restarting the system. However, the power would need to be manually restarted, which Ray isn't volunteering to do. I think Ray does die in the book. He's the only character where I forgot what happened to him. I will quickly have a look. Just give me one. Oh no, his name is John Arnold in the book. Okay, he was killed in both films, both adaptations. However, most of course, as mentioned, he dies in this off screen. However, they did fully build all of the sets, and like everything was ready. However, unfortunately, the storm that happened in this film was real and destroyed all of the sets that were going to be used for his death. So, unfortunately, we missed out on it. However, they still stuck with him being dead, which is congrats to them, because usually they just wreck on it and just say he's alive. Anyway. Alan and the kids are stopped by a herd of Gallimimus, who are stampeding in their direction in order to evade Rexy, as mentioned by Alan. Hiding behind a log, they watch as Rexy catches and proceeds to devour one of the herd. Ellie and Muldoon realise something has gone wrong as the power has failed to come back on. Muldoon opens a cabinet containing shotguns and grabs one as Hammond grabs blueprints to guide the pair through the power building place. The maintenance shed, I think they called it. The two of them leave the bunker, passing the raptor cage that now has a unfortunate sized hole in it. Which, at that point, I would just give up. If I saw a fucking giant hole in the cage, I'd just be like, yeah, I'm done. Past the hole, they see that there's tracks leading away, and Muldoon, being a big game hunter and I think the games master, or like something for the park, realizes that they're being hunted and tells Ellie to make a run for it as he goes for one of the raptors. Ellie safely makes it inside after her stunt double did some acrobatic stuff through the woods, and calls out for Ray in the darkness. Hammond radios over and directs her through the building. Piss poorly, because he does lead her to a dead end a couple of times. Alan and the kids arrive at an intact but offline electric fence where he pretends to be electrocuted to scare them. We all know where this is going. It's offline now, and one of them is going to go turn the power. They all rush to climb it as Ellie arrives at the main power box, which she begins to switch on before the others can get over. She activates it before Timmy can get down, and he is electrocuted, sending him flying off the fucking fence, but caught by Alan. Ellie, of course, celebrates the powers back on until a raptor ambushes her, but she traps it and finds what's left of Ray. Literally, his arm just falls out of somewhere, which, as I say, is a shame, because possibly Sam Jackson could have been the best kill if his fucking death had been filmed and completed. Of course, this confirms his death. Muldoon stalks the raptor on his own until he is flanked by another, which mauls and kills him. Clever girl, that sort of thing. There are so many lines in this that are iconic. It's shocking. Alan attempts to resuscitate Timmy and does succeed in bringing him back to life before they all return to the visitors center. He does the thing he told Lex that he wasn't going to do, which is leave them behind. in the dining room, which still has a banquet of food in, to look for the others. Alan finds Ellie outside the centre while the kids feast inside until Lex spots a shadow behind Timmy. It's pretty cool because it's like a stained glass window that has a picture of like dinosaurs on it, including Velociraptor, and the Velociraptor comes in and like the shadow is cast perfectly over the picture of the Velociraptor. They retreat into the kitchen to hide as a raptor shows his intelligence by figuring out how to open the door. As I had to point out to you, he did need some help from a crew member to tip his tail back, stop him from falling over. As I say, I wouldn't have even noticed that unless someone had pointed it out to me, and now I can't unsee it. Two raptors enter the kitchen and begin to hunt Lex and Timmy, who evade the raptors, locking one in the freezer. They reunite with Alan and Ellie before retreating into the control room, having to hold the door shut to keep the other raptor out. Now, this part does bother me, because I've heard online that in reality, where Ellie is holding the door closed wouldn't actually do anything, or it wouldn't help enough to be worth doing. And Timmy sort of stands there panicking instead of giving one of them the shotgun that Alan dropped on the floor. I've lost it. Lex, who was... Sorry, that was really loud. Lex, who was mentioned earlier as being a hacker, manages to reboot the park's systems, locking the raptor out. Alan calls Hammond to tell him of his success and let him know that they're okay. For now. However, they are forced to flee the room when the raptor breaks in through a window and they are forced to move through the vents. The raptor notices with this cool shot of him standing up and the projector casts gibberish onto him. It's not even like words, it's like a string of letters. Oh, that shot is so good. This film is just... It's so good to have a film that's like my favourite instead of just having films that I like. Or shit ones that we're going to absolutely butcher. You guys fucking wait. We've got some hot and spicy ones down the pipeline. It's going to be fucking terrible, and I can't wait to butcher them. We butchered Nerve a lot less than I thought we would. I thought it would be a lot worse, but we still didn't like that film very much. If you've seen the episode when this comes out, because we are recording this and scheduling it for a few days in advance. So yeah, the raptor notices and almost gets Lex, but Alan pulls her up and they make it into the building's lobby. There they climb over the skeletons on display until the supports give way, because they're fat bastards. I'll tell a lie, a raptor does jump onto one of them. Not one of the group, but another of the skeletons. So that, of course, sending them crashing down. Timmy is very nearly impaled by a rib cage, but barely manages to hide in between. The group are unfortunately surrounded by two raptors. I thought it was three. My brain was like, there's three of them, but there was three. One of them got locked in the freezer. I think the other one came from the power shed. I think that's how it's meant to be. So one of them came from the kitchen, the other one came from the power shed and followed Ellie. Yeah, because when she finds Alan, she's going, run. So yeah, they're unfortunately surrounded by two raptors until Rexy arrives. Perfect timing for the third act to come to an end. Killing the raptors and allowing the group to escape as Rexy stands triumphant over the ruined visitor center. Of course, as the banner falls down that says when dinosaurs ruled the earth. The group make it into an InGen helicopter. I think they're the investors, I should say, that funded the park, which... They're going to have some strong words to be having with Hammond, especially considering their lawyer is now like dinosaur dung somewhere. So they make it to an InGen helicopter to escape as Hammond gives the island one more sorrowful look, and they all fly away together with Alan finally being comfortable with children to Ellie's glee, and they fly off into the sunset together as the credits roll. And there we go. Jurassic Park. As mentioned, favourite film of all time. The differences between the novel and the book, if you've read it, is apparent. It's very stripped back, the movie, I think, to try and get a bit more towards a younger audience, but still, I'm glad they didn't cut kills out entirely, even if most of them aren't on screen or that gory. But still, this film I've seen so many times since a young age, because I was the kind of kid that was in love with dinosaurs. What are your thoughts, Amelia? What are you going to say? It's not your cup of tea, that sort of thing.
Well, it's not my favourite, but I didn't hate it. But I did find the baby dinosaur cute, and I couldn't seriously.
Yeah.
I liked the good dinosaurs.
She liked all the nice dinosaurs. She was very much not a fan of all the random animals that were just getting massacred. Well, two of them died, but that was enough for you. Just you wait. Because the second one, a little girl gets attacked by the combies. She survives, I may add. The little girl in the second one does survive being attacked by little dinosaurs.
But yeah, as I say, I didn't.
She enjoyed it. She found the little dinosaur cute. Of course, all the practical effects in this film still hold up to this day. The CGI hasn't aged terrifically, however, it is still really good for its time. We'll get on with our best and worst kills before we wrap up. We actually agreed on it this time. Best kill goes to Dennis, even though it, of course, Dennis Nedry, I should say. Even though his kill was mostly off screen, just because he's a piece of shit and how drawn out his death was. Especially, well, not as drawn out as his fucking book death, but like if they had adapted the book a bit more like closely, I still feel like he would have got my best kill. As I say, if they ever remake this and make it more accurate to the books and make it like rated R, he probably still would get best kill just for the gore. We both agreed on Joffrey being the worst kill because his is the most off screen, because it's basically a hand and then we cut to the dig site. And oh, what a well! It's just funny to me that in the Lego game he loses his hot dog. So yeah, that of course, Jurassic Park. Absolutely iconic film. If you haven't seen it, please go fucking watch it. You can find it like everywhere. It's not a rare film. Please, I can't recommend the book enough if you are a fan of the movie. I'd recommend probably not watching Jurassic World to me. Just a random side note. Then again, we did have a bad experience while we were watching it, so it could be better when we eventually get around to covering it, but we'll wait and see. That's a long way away. Next week, I will be covering Scary Movie 4, and that's a promise. We have to wrap up that series for now, just because it's constantly on my fucking mind. Amelia's next to pick, so we'll see. We'll see down the line what she chooses. I think is it going to be Scooby-Doo 3? Do you think?
Could be.
It could be.
But then I could.
That's the good thing about not promising or like having a schedule per se. It's just that we can sort of do whatever, but we'll see. You'll have to wait and see, obviously. But for now, I, of course, your host, Purple Midnight 8, joined as ever by Amelia, the Obsidian Nook Petal ASMR.
Thank you.
If I wasn't going to do it, she was going to plug it. You can find all of our links, including a link to her channel, in the description. But for now, we will indeed see you in the next one. Bye bye now.